Okay, and I think that's it. I think we're recording. Great. Okay, so hello everybody. My name's Nina Parish, and I'm a professor of French and Francophone Studies at the University of Stirling. I'm also one of the editors for the Modern French Identities collection at Peter Lang. And I'm here today, or we're here today, with Natalie Berkman, who's the winner of the 2019 Peter Lang Young Scholars Competition in 20th and 21st French Studies. We're here to hear about her book, which will come out next month, and to talk more generally about future projects and the prize as well. So the book by Natalie is called OuLiPo and the Mathematics of Literature. And I'm very excited to have a copy of this book in my hands to see the final product as such. So, Natalie, could you tell us a little bit more about your journey to this book and to the prize as well?
Absolutely. So first, thank you for having me, and thanks for this prize. It really means a lot. I never thought I'd win a prize for this, especially since I'm currently living and working in Paris in a somewhat non-academic role, or at least a non-traditional academic role. I'm working as an academic manager at a creative media college called SAE Institute. Before that, I was finishing my PhD at Princeton, which I completed in 2018. And before that, I was actually, I never thought I'd get into this sort of field because I was a math major at Johns Hopkins for my undergraduate studies, where I happened to learn French, but almost as a curious byproduct of a creative writing interest. It's been a long time coming with this project coming to fruition, because it really started back in 2008 when I was taking a French class, and a teacher told me, oh, if you're interested in creative writing and math, you should study the OuLiPo. And I had never heard of this group before, but I had heard of Raymond Queneau, I had heard of Italo Calvino. They were two of my favorite authors at the time. And that was when I realized I've got to learn. I've got to improve my French. I've got to learn Italian. I've got to study this. And so I decided to study abroad in Paris, which totally changed my life. Now I live here and work here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, look, I've read your book, obviously, and it's a really superb book. So I wanted you to tell us a little bit more about it. Just to say a little bit more about the prize, there were a number of different submissions for this prize. Natalie, you were the winner, and we had a runner-up too. So Thea Pedro is going to publish a book again with Peter Lang in the same series on Jacques Roubaud. So it's very exciting. But yeah, if you could tell us more about this book. I should say that for the Modern French Identities series, it's Jean Calfa who's the main editor, and I edit the poetry section alongside the wonderful Emma Wagstaff from the University of Birmingham. So just wanted to say that before. So yeah, tell us about OuLiPo and the mathematics of literature.
Once this teacher back in 2008 told me about how the OuLiPo used math and literature, I was obviously extremely attracted to the concept because I was double majoring in creative writing and mathematics, and I started reading anything I could get my hands on. I was reading OuLiPo, I was reading Roubaud, I was reading Queneau, I was reading Perec, struggling a little with it, especially books like La Disparition, since I was still mastering French myself at the time. The better my French got, the more excited I got about this project, but also the more I started realizing that, well, the fact that OuLiPo says they deal with math is probably the first line in any volume about the OuLiPo. Almost no one really delves into this question. And that was why when I was finishing my undergraduate studies, I was asking around trying to figure out how I could study this problem more closely. And I realized I couldn't do it in the context of a master's in mathematics. I couldn't do it in the context of a Master of Fine Arts in creative writing. And so that was why I decided to pursue a PhD in French literature. And I was lucky enough to get accepted to Princeton and be able to study with David Bellos, who is Georges Perec's translator and not afraid of mathematics like a lot of people who study French literature. And he was really such a great advisor and mentor in this project, helping me understand exactly exactly how OuLiPo is using mathematics, especially since they're very coy about what they're doing themselves. It's difficult to understand exactly what they're doing, because if you take them at face value, you're probably going to think the wrong thing. And so because of that, I developed the approach I did, where I look at their drafts, I look at interviews, writing that they've done about their work. And I consider that all as sort of a larger group production, even if it's a less constrained one. And I developed this sort of five-pronged approach to study the way they use mathematics based on different mathematical disciplines, which I also hoped would introduce non-mathematical readers to math, so that they could really understand how OuLiPo was using math, why OuLiPo was using mathematics, and what that effect was.
Yeah, you do well to say about this fear of mathematics from literary scholars, and I have to say, yeah, I'm one of those people who are a little bit scared of maths, and your book is fantastic for yeah, explaining how OuLiPo is using maths in their creation. Yeah, if I can understand it, we all can. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I tried to introduce it really from as literary approach as I could. So right at the beginning, I introduced what mathematics is through the example of the sestina, a poetic form, rather than by introducing it with numbers or any sort of mathematical work.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and I think this truly interdisciplinary aspect was one of the standout points of the book for us. We've been reading about OuLiPo for years, and no one had done that work. Well, no one until you. So it's yeah, really important publication. So yeah, I also wanted you to talk to us a little bit about the illustrations in the book, because I think that's, yeah, I'm a text image scholar, and I think this is, yeah, really important aspect of the book too.
Yeah, I'm really excited about these illustrations. When I was writing my dissertation, which ultimately became this book, I found that I often had recourse to various images, diagrams to explain the mathematics, but everything sort of came together very serendipitously because of a contact I had in the OuPampo, who I had met randomly in a very non-Oulipian way in a bookshop in Versailles back in 2014, Georges Orambe. Georges Orambe, he has his own very interesting way of translating text into image, and he had introduced me to the work of the OuPampo, which was sort of like the OuLiPo, but with visual aspects, with painting or any sort of art. And right after I had won the prize, I happened to be at an exhibition of OuPampo's work that was specifically about mathematics at the Institut Henri Poincaré. This was probably a month before we all went into lockdown and the world changed as we know it. And I was discussing with them the book, and we had this combined idea that maybe they could illustrate it and illustrate the mathematical concepts I was talking about in a Oulipian sort of constrained way. And so during lockdown, we had a number of meetings. We developed the concept of the artwork together. They did the cover artwork and a number of the images throughout the book, in addition to a specific cover for each of the 5 chapters. And I think their work turned out very beautifully, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Oh, it's, yeah, really exciting aspect, and it introduces a playful, creative element to your own work as well, doesn't it? So yeah, can't wait.
And in some cases, it even helped me in my sestina discussion. I wanted to try to visualize the way the rhymes permute, and Georges Orambe's way of attributing colors and shapes to words actually turned into a very beautiful table that illustrates the permutation of the rhymes in the sestina. And then one of the other members of the group, Eric Rutan, he created a beautiful spiral that illustrates the sestina and the way the rhymes permute, and it just looks fantastic.
Wonderful. So can you tell me, Natalie, a little bit about how this book feeds into the current research projects, future research projects?
Absolutely. So I mentioned I'm currently working at this school called SAE Institute. It originally started as an audio school, but now we have departments for film and video games. So as the academic manager, I've had to learn a lot about all of these new disciplines, which has been really exciting to learn about things that don't sort of fit into sort of traditional academic work. And one of the things that I realized very early on was that some of the stuff that I had written about in this book, namely the concept of the choose your own adventure narrative or arborescent literature, is a natural precursor to video games, and even some types of films like Black Mirror's Bandersnatch that came out a few years ago on Netflix, where you get to choose the next steps in the story in a very interactive way. And so my next project that I'm currently starting is on this notion of interactive literature, but not just literature, but literature taken in a larger sense. Literature, electronic literature, movies, theater, and even video games. So during the pandemic, for instance, I was finally able to play all through Detroit Become Human, this amazing video game created by the French-based company Quantic Dream, where there's just such a plethora of different narratives and storylines and endings that are offered by the same exact structure that Kuno came up with in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's extremely exciting to be able to start a new project with OuLiPo, but then move into different media. So I'm really looking forward to that, because now that I'm working in a sort of creative media college, I'm starting to get this new conception of literature as spanning different media, and how we can make the work that we do as literary scholars even more relevant by adapting it to new media and new ways that people are telling stories.
Oh, Natalie, that sounds so exciting. And yeah, you talking to me about Detroit Become Human, and makes me realize that I need to go and play it, and I need to learn more about these video games too. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful. So I think we'll draw it to a close there. So there's a few things I just want to say. I want to say a big congratulations to you to close. Really, you know, this is a fantastic book. I highly recommend it to anyone interested in literary creation in France in the 20th century and 21st. Super important work. It's called OuLiPo and the Mathematics of Literature. It's by Natalie Berkman. It will be out next month, fingers crossed.
With beautiful illustrations by the OuPampo.
With these wonderful illustrations, and it's in the Modern French Identities collection with Peter Lang. So, Natalie, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.